Hello, hello, everyone. I am so excited to be kind of back at it. I was out for a little bit. I got sick, which I think happens to all of us. And as I shared in my post, right, like none of us really like to admit when we're sick. We want to kind of like be able to keep going and push through and have it not be something that takes us out. But my body said otherwise, right? And completely losing my voice, being sick, it happens to the best of us. But what I always want to encourage people to do in my spaces and my communities, right, is to get evidence that they're able and allowed to take breaks and they're allowed to take care of themselves. And so I was just really honest with the community, my spaces, and just kind of let people know, like, hey, I'm sick. For the foreseeable future, like I'm kind of offline. I will be coming back to things. Everything will be made right. But just, it's normal for us to get sick. And so it's so important for us to be able to see examples of like taking time to rest and recuperate. Let me know if this has ever happened to you in your business or potentially in like previous workplaces, right? Where it doesn't feel good to be like, hey, I need to take a sick day. I need to take time off. I need to recover. I need to honor my body, right? And I think that a lot of times, honestly, our society doesn't encourage that, right? We're supposed to like push through. We're supposed to stay productive, especially when we're not sick. It feels like we're being not productive. We're being lazy. I don't know if anyone else resonates with that, but let me know in the comments. And I really want to challenge that. And I want to invite others to challenge that as well. And I was like, absolutely like honored and so supported by everyone's comments, replies to my emails and posts of just like, absolutely rest your body. Thank you for leading by example. Like, this is so helpful to see and to know that like, we're allowed to take breaks in our business and we don't always have to be like on. We're allowed to take breaks. We're allowed to take care of our bodies and like still receive money in our business, still be taken care of. Clients don't need to get angry with us. So that was something that was, really beautiful and exciting to hear back from people. So one second, I'm noticing my camera's a little foggy. Okay, let's get into it of the topic I wanted to talk about today, which is goal trauma. So I have been seeing this topic has been coming up a lot in my containers. I think it makes sense. It is January. It's the start of the new year. And like folks are really thinking about, oh, what are my, New Year's resolutions? What are my New Year goals? What am I setting as an intention for 2023? And there can be sometimes a lot of trepidation, right, when it comes to setting our goals if we have goal trauma, right? And let me just explain the concept of goal trauma and let me know if this resonates with you or if this has been some of your experience with your money, with your business. And I want to go through specific examples around that, right? Is that goal trauma is when you kind of set goals for yourself and you have pursued them and strived towards them and have not achieved them, right? And it's not like you surpassed them, you just did not achieve them. And a lot of times feelings of disappointment and frustration and failure can bubble up here, right? And it can be really challenging when we set, for instance, income goals in our business. And maybe you're reflecting on 2022 and you were like, oh, I had these big income goals. Maybe you wanted to reach, 10K months. Maybe you wanted to reach 100K year. Maybe you wanted to, hit that 6 figures. Maybe you wanted to hit 7 figures and you didn't achieve it, right? And you're feeling frustrated and disappointed. And now you're back at the drawing board for 2023. And you're like, do I set the same goal? Or do I set an even bigger goal? Do I just need to push myself harder, right? Because I think a predominant energy in the mindset world and in the coaching world and in, the financial like money space is like, oh, well, just push yourself harder, go bigger, right? Your goal is not big enough to get you motivated to take the actions you need to, right? Or you need to go big so that you can push yourself harder than ever before, right? And I personally have found, and like I also have found this with my clients, that way of approaching goals has not necessarily led to successful outcomes, right? because of goal trauma. So if you have set a number of goals throughout your, entrepreneurial career, right? Around income, around the number of people you want in your group program, whatever it might be, right? It may be, oh, I wanted 10 people in this group program. Oh, I wanted, X dollar amount from this launch. And the challenge that comes up here is that, when we continually don't achieve those and we just kept setting new goals rather than reflecting on potentially what has happened or like what happened for ourselves, right? Like what has happened for ourselves is to understand, right? Like, oh, well, like what happened when I was working towards that goal? What were my beliefs? What actions was I taking, right? Did I stay consistent towards that goal? And so when we don't take this time to actually rest and reflect on what happened with our goal, I think it can lead to a buildup of goal trauma because it's just like, oh, well, I just need to create a new goal, right? I need to create a different goal that I'm actually able, like that's going to be motivating, that's more exciting, that's better than this one. And so instead of actually being like, oh, like, how did I show up? What other things were achieved while I pursued this goal? What else came into my space, right? So for instance, right, this can be like, let's break this down to something like really like easy and simple to understand, right? Let's say you're launching a program or you're launching like one-on-one and you're like, I want to sell my one-on-one. I want to sell 10 spots, everyone at 1K a piece, giving me a 10K month, right? You've gotten really clear on your goal. Maybe your goal is the 10K months. Maybe it's selling out your one-on-one, whatever it might be, right? And so like you go in with this intention, you follow through with your launch and you're like, okay, I'm going to launch this for a month, right? So you launch your one-on-one for a month and you don't sell as many spots if you want, if any. Maybe you sell no spots, right? And it could potentially be, right? Like, oh, like I sold no spots. I now feel frustrated. I feel, dejected. I feel, really unmotivated. I feel like I don't have a sense that I could achieve future goals potentially. Like it feels untrustworthy, right? Like my goals have now become untrustworthy. And so we then just set new goals instead of taking the time to process what happened, right? So there's a couple options, right? When it comes to, oh, you're pursuing selling out your one-on-one, is like, have you checked in with your capacity? Do you have room in your schedule to serve 10 one-on-one clients? How much attention does each of those 10 one-on-one clients get? Is it just call time? Are they getting additional time from you? Like, what is happening when it comes to, setting that intention and then actually achieving it and being able to carry it out, right? That's an important reflection question to ask yourself. Then the next one is like, oh, well, like, did I stay consistent with it? Right? Like, was I showing up every single day, asking myself, what does my audience need to hear? What do I need to tell them about my one-on-one program? Why it's the best possible thing for them to invest in? Why is this like the best choice for them to make? Was I maintaining conversations with people? Was I reaching out to people that had showed interest in my work? How was I responding to comments? Was I engaging? All of those things, right? Another question is, if you were doing all those things and you still didn't make any sales, it's like, oh, well, where's the disconnect happening? Are people raising their hands? Are they getting on sales calls with you? Do you have like a clear way to talk to people? Is it just like DMing? Is it sales calls? Like think through the process and flow that your potential client is going to experience, right? Did you have some event where they could get to know, like, and trust you, right? To build that rapport with them and have them then talk on a deeper level personally about their own experiences with you, right? And like seeing if working with you would be a good fit for them to go to a next level in some way, right? If all of those things happen, the next question is like, okay, well, like, is it just a time thing? Do you just need to provide your audience a little bit more time to get to know, like, and trust you? Right? Because is a month enough time to make the level of investment that you're asking them to make, or the level of commitment, right? And so this is like such an important thing to know when it comes to understanding, right? Like what is happening when it comes to your goals and the goal trauma. So when we continually set goals and then are not achieving them, right, it can compound into a lot of goal trauma, right? And then there might be other outcomes, right, that you're not even giving credit to, right? Did your following increase on social media? Did you get more email subscribers with this launch? Did they come to you in other ways, which means like people are raising their hands, they're wanting to be in your spaces, but you just haven't converted them yet, right? Which is okay, right? It's like that's still worth celebrating the fact that there are more people in your Facebook group or following you on Instagram or following you on Facebook or, on your email list or coming to your live streams, like whatever it might be, but there's space to celebrate what you have achieved in this launch and then to keep going, right? However, right, if we don't achieve the first goal, we automatically think, okay, well, let me just create a new goal because clearly this goal was not the right goal, right? So then we have this unprocessed goal. We've set a new goal on top of it for something completely new and different. Instead of sticking with potentially what we originally wanted, maybe it was out of alignment, which is totally fine. You can pivot, you can change, absolutely. But like, it's important to ask yourself, oh, is it just time for me to stick with this? Or like, is it time for me to pivot, right? So then we're, switching from, we're switching around, right? We're putting a new goal on top of the old goal that's unprocessed. And then we've like compounded and we keep doing this, right? So this conversation has been coming up a lot with my clients for 2023 because what's happening in the spaces is we're talking about, oh, what intentions are we bringing to 2023? What are your big, goals or desires this year? And desires and goals are feeling unsafe because they've gone through goal after goal after goal of not achieving it, right? Or it not coming the way that they expected, or, them, yes, getting some results, but not getting the full level of results they wanted, which is like a normal experience when you're trying to build and create a company or an organization or a movement, right? You don't necessarily always know how everything is going to come about. You have a larger vision. You think of the actions that you believe you need to take as that person who has that result would take. And those are the ones you need to take right now, right? However, the discovering the how it comes through it tends to be a surprise for a lot of people. So this is where goal trauma is coming up, because what's happening, right, is then they're thinking about their 2023 desires and they're like, oh my gosh, like I don't want to necessarily set these big lofty goals. I just want to kind of shrink. I want to set smaller goals. I don't trust these goals. I feel like I can't focus on my desires or goals because like it's not going to go well, right? Let me know if this resonates with you in the comments, if like you've had this experience, right? And so what happens, right, is that how do we actually overcome this? How do we change and interrupt a goal trauma pattern? Number one is to actually take some time to reflect, right? And think about, oh, what have been my past goals that I have not achieved that feel really sticky in my past, right? That feel really uncomfortable. And what did I gain from those experiences? What information did I gain from those experiences of not achieving my goal? Were there other positive outcomes that potentially came out of it, right? And when we think about that, when we think about, oh, what were the other outcomes? Was it Instagram followings? Was it, new followers? Was it a larger group? Was it a bigger list? Was it, more people engaging with me, right? So then the first thing you want to do if you start realizing that you're experiencing goal trauma is to start reflecting on some of the past goals that you've set and have not achieved. And what have you gained from those experiences? There could have also been some information that you gained, right? Going back to the example we talked about, potentially setting a goal of I want to sell at my one-on-one, I want to sell out, 10 spots or 20 spots, right? And you discovered, oh, wow, like after I really thought about it, maybe you booked, 2-3 clients, you were like, my capacity is actually not where I thought it was for one-on-one clients, right? Like having more than maybe 5 clients feels overwhelming to me, or feels like more than I would like to commit to, right? Or it maybe challenges some of the freedoms that I desire when it comes to having my own business, right? Because you could discover that actually thinking about having 10 clients, that's 2 clients per day, or like if you're on like a 4 or 3 day work week, you're potentially having 3 to 4 calls on one-on-one a day. You're suddenly realizing like, oh, there's no room for me to have potentially a group program or a membership or anything else, right? You could discover that there needs to be alterations to your one-on-one package, or potentially to your capacity in regards to that, right? So you can also gain information when we don't achieve our goals or desires, right? That's not to say that like those desires and goals aren't meant for us. That's not it at all, right? But the very first thing we want to do when we discover like, oh, is goal trauma coming in and kind of messing with me working towards what I want to achieve when it comes to my money, to my business, to my mindset, we really want to assess these things. So number one, reflect on previous goals and think through, what did I gain from these situations, either informationally or in a different way, such as like more followers, more people in my group, a larger audience, trusting myself to show up consistently. Maybe before you couldn't trust yourself to show up consistently, and now you are showing up consistently. And so you've gained a new level of trust, right? Or a belief that you do have something important to say and you want to share it with everyone. So that's number one. Number two that you want to do is then like thinking about your next goals. Instead of automatically going to a numerical amount, such as a certain number of clients, a certain dollar amount, I want to invite you into, when you think about that dollar amount, or you think about what a sold out program would be, right? I would love to know, how would you feel? What would the feeling be that you get from that? Let me know some feelings that you would get from having 10K consistent months, or 20K consistent months, or 5K consistent months. What are the feelings you would get from that, right? What feelings do you think it would create within you? How would you be showing up in your business? How would you be showing up every day on social media? How would you be showing up when it came to writing your content? How would you be showing up when it came to your team, right? Think through these things and then start to consider those as more your goals, right? Working towards a way of being, or a larger understanding of like desiring, instead of desiring a dollar amount, saying, I desire my business to fully financially support me, or I desire financial consistency from my business, right? And that can then be in the third part. The third part I want you to consider with your goal is thinking about how you're strategically setting yourself up for the long game. When it comes to these goals that you're setting, whether it be, a certain number of people in a group program, or a dollar amount, right? Is this setting you up for stability? Stability and like consistency are a key aspect of the feminine financial principles that I teach, right? When I teach people about how to manage money, when I teach people a new way of approaching their money, when I teach people about money mindset, stability is always taken into consideration. That's why this topic of goal trauma is really like popular right now in my communities and spaces, because we're talking about, okay, what is your intention? Now I want you to reflect on like, yes, this is very exciting, but that's feeling sticky for you because of the past that has happened. And so how can we do the work, the mindset work, to heal the past, right? To do that reflective work, and then focus instead and give ourselves spaciousness, and also spaciousness for just magic to happen, in setting intentions of, I desire financial consistency in my business. I desire financial consistency and stability in my business. And then think, how is that strategically playing out when it comes to your business strategy, right? And this starts to come into thinking through when you're talking about the program you're wanting to sell, or the like the program or offer that you want to sell, or the price points or the payment plans, you need to ask yourself, okay, am I allowing there to be a runway, right? Like, am I causing myself to need to launch every 3 months? Am I causing myself to have to, oh, I maybe make a lot of money right now because I'm accepting pay in full, but then like next month I'm going to have no money because I'm not creating payment plans? Or like, do I even offer extended payment plans? And I'm not saying they need to be extremely outside the container. I'm saying, oh, if you added on 1 or 2 months more to your payment plans, what would that do? Would it open up your space to people in a new way and provide you greater stability and be able to work through the goal trauma that has been coming up when it's like, oh, I have these intentions, I have these goals, I have these desires, and I would like to see this change happen. What about then, right? So these are the 3 things that I really think, if you have experienced goal trauma, if you have, set really big goals for yourself a number of times. I know that this happened to me, absolutely. And there was a number of things that I didn't understand about my own money mindset, that I didn't understand about my own internal set points around money and what felt comfortable and safe for me to have and receive and hold. Like, I found that like I would not be doing these things, right? My payment plans weren't set up for stability, to stabilize my nervous system, right? I wasn't necessarily reflecting on my goals when I did not achieve them, right? I was holding too tightly potentially to how they were supposed to come, right? This was a huge thing in one of the very, very early days of my business. I was like, oh, I want 3 one-on-one clients. I got one one-on-one client and I got 2 people in a group program. And I, for weeks, was saying like, I did not achieve my goal. But technically I had gotten 3 clients. They just did not come through the path that I had expected for them to come through. And so I was saying it didn't count, right? So, but I didn't realize that, right, until I started actually doing the reflective work of, oh, what happened with this goal, rather than just plastering a new goal on top of it and saying, oh, I just need to think bigger, right? I just need to go for something that's more exciting, more juicy, more, big. And that's what will actually get me to the goal, right? So I want to really encourage you to consider these things, right? To reflect, if you have any experience as you've been reflecting on what you desire 2023 to be for yourself. If you've been feeling resistant, what would it feel like for you to not put a number on your 2023 goals? What would it feel like for you to actually be like, actually, I would like my 2023 intention to be a way of being, right? Actually changing the holistic way which I approach my money and business versus this is an exact dollar amount point that I want to create, or a number of people, right? And so I want to invite you into that, because I think that this has been really transformative for a number of my clients. It's been extremely transformative for myself. I do not see people talking about this in the industry, about goal trauma, talking about, what does this mean? Like, how does it influence our mindset? And I think I'm definitely going to be doing more topics on this, of like, how can it play with our mindset, and like kind of understanding more of the deeper roots of what's happening with goal trauma as well. But for that, I wanted to introduce the topic to you. I wanted to let you know about these like 3 things you can take a look at, right? And a new way to approach your goals in 2023, and see what it's like to try out a new way of, going for your goals. So with that, go ahead and join the community, subscribe to my channel. I'd love to have you over here. Leave a comment if you found this useful. If you found, if this is your first time hearing about goal trauma, I'd love to know. Let me know what resonated with you, and let me know which of the 3 things you're going to pursue as you look at your 2023 goals. I'll see you. Bye.